Yeah, so I mean that is what we're talking about today: automation and AI, and how you can really strengthen your cybersecurity program utilizing these in the right way. They're
Mhm.
not like, I guess I overuse the word panacea, but it's a good word. It makes me sound smart. Yeah, they're not a panacea. Just because you implement it doesn't mean it's going to solve all your problems. It takes some time for your team to figure out how it's going to work in the workflow and where it's going to work at. What kind of AI tools have you used in the past, and did you like them? Did you not like them? And how did they help?
Yeah. So obviously a big one right now would be ChatGPT from OpenAI, just because I feel like they were kind of the first people to make it available to consumers, right? Like you didn't have to have all of the computing power or pay a bunch of money because it was free. And then they kind of restricted the better LLMs under a subscription service, which they said they're still losing money, which is wild. But ChatGPT is a big one. When it first came out, I actually used it to make dumb scripts, like to do little short videos with, and the language was just not great. But it's obviously gotten better, and I didn't expect it to take over the artistic realm as much as it did, right? Because now I can have it write an entire ebook and like put that ebook on Amazon or Kindle or whatever and start making money, which I probably should do, but I don't. Um, so I thought, oh, engineering, and it does impact engineering to an extent, but I thought it would be more things that operate off of code and less things that I guess are creative aspects. There's been a few others that I've tried that I don't remember the name of. Um, was it? I want to say Wally. Was that one that like did the imaging, like the generative AI?
Yeah.
Use that, and it would get like six finger hands, or just weird looking stuff. Um, that's gotten a lot better. I used another generative AI, which was, oh gosh, you have to have a token for it now. I actually made my background from it. It was the imagine, like the prompt was imagine, and then you would feed it your prompt, and it would do
Mm.
really pretty stuff.
Is that the Da Vinci thing or something like that?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called though.
Mm.
Anyways, so yeah, a few generative, and then ChatGPT, and one other LLM. LLM is large language model, which is basically what you're interacting with when you're messaging ChatGPT to do stuff.
Have you used any security tools with it built into it yet that you
Mm,
can talk about?
Yeah, not hands-on to the point that I would like. There's one tool that I did like when I was still in the other side of cybersecurity. Um, that's basically an automated purple team, which is all AI, right? So it's basically the concept was, um, and you can probably find the company through that, but the concept was it would look at your cloud configuration. It was strictly cloud based. Look at your cloud configuration, identify vulnerabilities, and then do kind of a what if scenario. So it would basically play itself. So I found this. What if I did this? And then it would do the defensive side. Well, if this happens, I would do this, and so on and so forth. And so it was a way to kind of shore up your configurations, and see what could be possible, what could be a possible path without needing to actually perform the activity. So I thought that was really cool, but I never saw it. Everything looks good in a demo environment. I could probably put something together that would look great in a demo environment. And then we give it to someone like your dad, like the human debugger, and it just goes to shit.
Yeah, I need to do like pictures of people and like put their names on it or something. Have one of him. Just do like one of the walls with it and just put the human debugger. I need to get him a hat or something. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, these hats are great, by the way. You can pick them up at some link in the description.
Maybe. Ask really nicely and I might give you one. It almost sounds like I don't know if I interacted with that one, but it almost sounds like war games is what that sounds like. They should just call it war games. Like where you're just like, what if I did this? And then it just counters you almost like playing chess or something.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't, try to launch nukes thinking that it's a real war.
Yeah, I watched that movie for the first time like last year. I was like, this is a solid. No wonder it's a classic for hackers. It is a solid.
Yeah, I think I saw it like 2 years ago, so not too far ahead of you. I think it
Yeah.
came out in the 80s, probably.
Yeah, I think it's what Ferris Bueller. I don't know what his real name is, but the two plays it. Yeah,
Ace?
I've never interacted with any like that, but I'm sure you could do that with ChatGPT as well. One of the ones I've used with AI built into it is Darktrace, if you've ever heard of that one. I think they're out of the UK, but they are predominantly a network security type tool. You plug it in, have traffic route through it, and then it can identify endpoints on the network and start basically figuring out when things are missed by essentially baselining the activity on the network, and then anything that kind of strays outside of those baselines it starts detecting on. But I have seen some interesting things with that particular tool, and I mentioned it before. I don't think I said what the tool is, but this is a tool where it will label endpoints because it'll use old data. So I pen tested against one of these, and that's what it did. So it had the name of my laptop as something different, even though there's a host name clearly in the data. In there, if you looked, it would be in there, the correct one, but it would label it wrong in the dashboard when there were alerts generated for my host doing stuff like LLMNR or something like that. And then the other thing I noticed with it is that even though it says it's blocking stuff, I don't know if it's the machine learning model or whatever that's interfering, but it would be like, all right, I block this thing, and it wouldn't actually block it. I could still do the same traffic. If I did it like below a certain threshold, and I had to play with it a little bit, because I did have someone there so I could see what was going on with it and at what point it was blocking. But if I did it fast, like you would do with like a normal default configurations for an attack tool, you just hit it, boom, and just shoots a ton of data, it would block and stop me. But if I did it at a slower rate, like say one every 20 seconds, one type of one communication, like password spraying over SMB, right? That's a good example. Like maybe one every 15 seconds, trying one attempt. It will say it blocks it, but it doesn't. And it just keeps letting me do it. But if I did it all, just like hit it and say go, where it's doing, I don't know what the default is, but it's a lot. It would block it and stop it. But if I just did it like that slow, it would say it blocked, it caught it, it stopped it, but it would just keep letting me do it and give me the correct response. Yeah. So kind of weird. I never was able to identify because that wasn't in scope, right? It was just out of curiosity, but kind of worked. It didn't really. I did pick up stuff. It did work on picking up anomalies really well, but the labeling stuff was annoying. And then maybe the next day it would go back and relabel them. So if you're like in the middle of an incident, it would kind of screw you up because you're chasing the wrong tail there.
Yeah, I don't like things that like go and correct itself.
Yeah.
What other things have you used? I'm sure you've used generative things as well.
Yeah, I use it all the time. Yeah, especially coding. I definitely like it for coding because it helps me move along really quick. I'm good enough of a code writer. I won't say I'm a developer. I'm a hacker for sure, but I know enough where I can say I don't really like that, and I'll pull it and then tweak it to what I want it to do. But it'll give me like a decent framework of what I want, and then I can adjust it for my coding style to make it make sense. But I would say that has been a game changer for me, where I can code significantly faster. Like I could probably do 1,000 lines of code in a day and it'd be decently clean versus before, especially if I'm jumping to a new language. So I've been doing a lot of Golang recently, and I'm previously a Python guy and a C# guy. And it's really helped me develop crazy fast. Because there's a bunch of nuances between the languages, and you don't really know, like in Python, you can just say equals this variable equals this thing. And when you're setting it in Go, it's like colon equals this thing. So there are some nuances, but you can say, hey, how would you do this? Or in this language, what is the best coding practices for this? And that comes in like important when you're developing something you want other people to start modifying. You have to kind of stick with standard practices. You don't care about this because you're like, no one's ever going to use this shit but me. But
yeah,
and that's how I used to be. I used to just be myself. Now That's not always the case. But yeah, so like things like certain languages may name variables a certain way versus other ones. Like some of them will say, yes, use camel casing. Some of them say, don't use camel casing. Some of them say, like, Go, whenever you're naming files. So you name files and you store all your functions and group them by like thing they're doing. And you label those one word, the files for all these functions. So it could be like parser, search, whatever, but it's all like one word. And then you store your like functions in here. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but every language has it. Every language has like the set of standards you're supposed to do. So make a long story short, you can use these types of things to say, hey, this is probably how you should be writing this thing so that other people can do it. And it's within standards, currently accepted standards.
So we've both obviously generated code using ChatGPT. Have you used Copilot?
Hey, yes. So I actually got it at Tandem for a bit just to see, like, oh, let's see if this speeds things up. So the funny thing with technologies is like when you initially use it, you're not optimally using it.
Right.
You're just fumbling around with it, right? That's just how it's always going to be because you don't know how to use it correctly yet or the best way to use it. So I say that to say, maybe it could have helped me more than it did, but I gave it like a week, or not a week, a whole month. I was writing code with it and doing stuff, and I just didn't like it. The only benefit that I liked was that you could generate the code and it could automatically move it into your files where all your code resided. And so it already knew everything that you were doing versus if you're in ChatGPT, you're having to do the copy and paste. And for me, because I do heavy modification of the stuff I get out of ChatGPT, just because of my coding style, it helps because it's a lot less I have to do. It already knows what I did and it can modify and push it over into not the production, but into the IDE, the developer tool. So that was the only thing I liked. It was almost the same. The other big difference is, so I do a lot of offensive tooling, meaning like I build stuff to attack. For those of you who are, I guess, not super familiar with all the terminology. And what that means is the stuff I write could be seen as malicious. And I will say Copilot hates you for writing offensive tooling. And ChatGPT, after you talk it into doing it, it's cool. It becomes your friend. And you had a coach say, hey, I'm a researcher. I'm doing this for research purposes. I don't know if it blocks you out anymore. I haven't run into the issues because I haven't done tooling in probably a month or so, but I've just been writing normal stuff. But before, like last year when I was writing some ransomware and some other stuff for authorized purposes, people, I had to social engineer it into helping me produce code because it's, no, you cannot do that. That's whatever. Like, I'm a researcher, please, pretty please. And like, okay, here you go. Sorry, bro.
Yeah.
Have you run into that where you had to like social engineer the ChatGPT? Yeah.
There was one time actually, I wasn't trying to, but I did. My friend was trying to write, I don't know what the language is, but basically for TradingView. If you're unfamiliar with TradingView, it's a charting software that you can use for different stock tickers or cryptos, etc. And so you can add custom scripts to basically identify maybe like a crossover of EMAs or something, if that's how you trade. But the point is, you can add custom scripts to it, right? And it's a specific way. And he was trying to write something in order to identify like when to buy, when to sell kind of thing. And it used like RSI and MACD or something else, I don't know. And he sent it to me and I was like, tell it like this. And then he got, oh, I can't do that. And I was like, ask it what its guardrails are. And I meant like, tell me why you can't do this, right? But he asked it what the guardrails were. And it was like, oh, I would trade this if this happens and do this if this happens. And it spit out the entire thing. And I was like, that's awesome. Use that. I don't know why you got that, but use that. And before, now we're on ChatGPT 4, probably when it first came out, you could ask it like to do stuff, like you said, coerce it, threaten it with different things, and it would give you code. And I think that's still an issue.